Thank you, everyone. I hope we had a good session outside. We networked and we connected with a lot of people. And I'm sure we're going to take a lot of uh, connects, a lot of learnings from the session. And to start with, first of all, thank you for the last session again. And we'll start with the second one, which talks about evolving food trends and how we can deal with it. So any guesses what we're going to talk about in the session? No worries. So we understand the complexities of different categories in food industry, which is so vital for taking the right step forward to ensure sustainable growth. So around that, in this session, we'll be talking about the trends in global food market, innovation in taste, the search of flavor and culinary experience, changing consumer lifestyles and its impact on the F&B sector, role of technology, that's really important these days. So role of technology in developing new foods and procedures. So for this, we would like to welcome our moderator, Chef Bobby Kapoor, chef partner, Catalyst. Chef Bobby Kapoor has spent the last 25 years transforming from a culinary school merit holder to an all-round chef specializing in 21 world cuisines. While maintaining his catering and consulting business, Chef is a masterpiece blender and has created very many intimatable coatings, dressing, sauces, and curry mixes, each of which can be called brilliant and beautiful. A leading figure amongst the world industry circles, his work as a genuine innovator confirm him as one of the most creative culinary artists our times has seen. With this, we would love to honor our panelists for this session, who are Mr. Bahadur Rasidli, Marketing Head, APACE. Can we have Mr. Rasidli on the stage, please? Thank you. And we would also like to have Mr. Mohammed Abdi Sobene, Director of Soap Trading, Canada. Thank you. So we would like to start the session with our moderator, Chef Bobby Kapoor, who would be taking care of the trends of food industry.
MD Akbar Hussain on the panel. I think he's left out.
Absolutely. I'm really sorry. Mr. Mohammed Akbar Hussain, Chairman, Discovery Products, BD Limited. We would like to have him on our panel as well. He's one of the leading importers of FMCG products in USA and Bangladesh, such as basmati rice, perfumes, canned food items. With this, we have Mr. Mohammed Abdi Sobene, Director, Soap Trading Canada, and Mr. Bahadur Rasidli, Marketing Head, APACE. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, I think the topic we have for today, cut out, is about evolving food trends. And the idea is we're looking at sustainability. We're also looking at what we can do to value add across the board. So we have a panel here, which is from Bangladesh, from Canada, and from Azerbaijan. So, sirs, if we can be okay, why don't we start with you? Why don't you introduce yourself?
This is MD Hussain. Actually, my nickname is Sonnet, so everybody know me as a Sonnet. We have a food distribution in Bangladesh and US too. In food, actually, I love it. Though we have a different business, so I deal with last 30 years food. So about food, that is my passion that I do. So we import almost all over the world and India too.
Thank you, Mr. Hussain. Mr. Mahmoud, something about yourself from Canada?
Definitely. So my name is Mohammed. I am from Canada. I've been in the food industry in Canada for almost 10 years. I work with building brands in Canada as well as exporting products from Canada outside the market. can't help but enjoy food, and I love it. And I love working with great companies and building great relationships and helping businesses flourish as well.
Thank you. Mr. Rashidli.
Yeah, my name is Bahadur Rashidli from Azerbaijan. I am the marketing head of Apiaz LLC. It's our family company. Me and my brother, Mr. Rashad Rashidli, we have founded this company 4 years ago, but our family business since we are third generation involved in beekeeping. In a very short time, we managed to become the most popular honey and most trustable honey brand in Azerbaijan market. Also, we are importing to several countries, including Japan and Gulf countries. Also, I am the founder and general manager of another company, Buta Fresh, which is doing fresh fruit and vegetable business on international scale. We are importer and exporter for fresh fruits and vegetables.
Wonderful. So I think we have one gentleman in manufacturing, one helping importers and exporters, and one person who's in many businesses otherwise. So the first part on the agenda we have is, what do you think are the emerging trends in the global food market? What do you think are the emerging trends we see in the global food market?
Well,
Just feel free. Just give us your ideas.
Actually, food is my experience emerging is every day changing. So people depends food. So some people it's area based. They like, in my experience, all over the world. So, okay, in US, in Canada, Indian people like Indian food.
Okay.
So they buy, even I see one guy, you know, in US, the famous brand salt, 1 pound salt is like 99 cents, sometimes $2 for $1. And Tata salt is $2.99. So people are buy Tata salt. So globalization and amazing sometimes is, I mean, depends on the people. So basically, my observation about the Indian people, they like to buy and they like to eat Indian food, Indian things.
Okay.
And other side of the people is like in Europe, in US. So they have is a good soft corner about the India. Because of IT, I have an experience about the some people are working with us. So they think, okay, India, even our subcontinent in Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, in other part in China. So the same price, same product, if made in India, they are at advantage. So there's Indian exporter and manufacturer. So already they have an advantage.
So you're giving us an insight about saying we refuse to change from our roots. But what we are trying to go about looking at is, what do you think are the emerging trends that you think are changing the market? I understand that we would always go back to our comfort foods. That's very important for us to survive as human races as such. But what do you think are the emerging trends that you would put down? Mohammed, anything from your side?
So in order to understand the emerging trends, you have to understand what's causing it to change. So specifically in Canada, I can advise that some of the things that are shifting the trends is the demographics, the trying to understand environmental stewardship, so where the product is coming from. Convenience is something that's is growing very rapidly within Canada. And lastly, labeling. So consumers are focusing more on the health and wellness. They want to, specifically the organic section, which is growing very rapidly. So trends are moving towards a more health-oriented.
What about you, sir?
I think, in my opinion, there are two different emerging priorities, I would say, of food markets or industries around the world. Let's say, in developed part of the world, let's say the trends are being created with the better experience and trying different tastes or getting more added value from the food, about it might be about the health or about the pleasure of during the taste. And also there is another phase of the world, which is, I think these days, the main priority is food security. Because, for example, I can give you an example from Turkey, where I'm living and also doing business. Turkish economy, especially in last 2 years, started to struggle, and let's say the general economic environment affects the producers. And suddenly, for example, in last 1 month, there is a scarcity for a certain vegetables or food stuff. For example, there was an onion scarcity suddenly occurred, and the government had to involve in this, remove taxes for import, and it was discussed. And this is Turkey. If you go more deeper to, let's say, countries, or not developed or developing countries, there is the main trend now is the food security, because the population of the world is growing too fast, and the resources are still not being, let's say, used as it should be used well, and that's why I think the main trend gonna be the food security for almost half of the world, to feed these populations, to these people stably.
I think one part that you go over looking at today, the real sense of term, by 2030 we won't have enough food on the planet to feed the growing population. Mm-hmm. That's a demographic we're looking at, and I'm talking, when I say food, unfortunately for us, I think trends start in the US and then they percolate down because of media. So people are talking of millets and people are saying quinoa. Mm-hmm. So everybody starts eating quinoa. Mm-hmm. Okay, the market is saying, oh, now it's quinoa, new flavor of the month. We have been eating quinoa in India for ages, for generations. You go to south of India, you're eating ragi. You eat ragi to keep a cool head. Okay, the farmers toil and they eat jawar in Maharashtra. So you have millets as a part of the main food that you're talking of. But funnily enough, now when you go about talking of globalization, you're suddenly talking of quinoa. You're not talking of what we have been doing for centuries. Okay, and I always go about saying we're going back to basics in that format. So it's fun to look at it in that format, sir.
Same thing in, sesame oil. Before we use long time mustard oil, right?
Yes.
So now, we are even India, Bangladesh, Pakistan people not using sesame oil. So now sesame oil in US, in Canada, in Europe is expensive. So
I think it's
actually the root from us, I believe, so some food. So now the modern people are now they're researching everything. So they find whatever we do before 100 years, 50 years back, now they are starting back.
I think that's a very valid point, sir. Going on to the next part, you say sesame oil you might be talking about. In India, you call it kachi ghani oil.
Yeah.
Kachi ghani basically is an oil that is cold pressed.
Cold pressed, right.
Okay, and the part is every other oil that you look on a shelf today, unfortunately for us, is so widely processed that it's not having a benefit. You see, the human body is, when you say health, and I read about health, I'm a chef, but I go looking at health in a different format. The Indian body needs vitamins, A, D, and E, coming from fats. Right. Unfortunately for us, our body gets used to these oils. And if they're processed too much, they can't differentiate. So we don't absorb what we eat. So people are going back to health, but then for that you need to educate yourself and go back to basics. So sesame oil you're saying is very good. It brings us down to the next part of it, sir. Where do you see innovation in terms of food trends? Where do you see flavor and culinary experience moving to? as we go along when you talk about food?
Actually, to be honest, food innovation is a mafia business. To be honest, in our side, we take the regular food, the regular life. This is the life. But some big company in all over the world, I mean not the other part, they are sometimes making this 5 year, make business, big company, take money. After that, they say, oh no, then make a research, no, this is not good. And what happened? We are running with this. We have to do because we start a factory, we have to make the business. So it's my observation, natural product we produce, that is regular item, that everything you find. Now, you know, now the trend is organic. So US people take the organic, is funny. Trust me, this is funny. This is the business.
I think so. When you're saying, you know, it's a mafia.
No.
When you're saying it's a mafia business, are you saying it's for manufacturers? It's a mafia business?
No. Not for us. This is, you know, some, you know, US and Europe, they make some, I mean, plan how they make the money,
so commercial.
Commercial, yes. So, you know, we make the mustard oil. This is organic mustard oil. Our reason there is a mustard oil, that is an excellent one. So people, and so that is sometimes because 30 years I'm in food, so each and every ingredient I like to test, I like to see. So what happened? So we are in right trend. So that's why sometimes, you know, gentlemen say in quinoa, light. So 100 years, 50 years, we take quinoa, I mean, we take the regular rice. No, that is good. And everything having fiber like this. So innovation, everyday innovation comes from the first world, and we have to definitely, as a manufacturer, we have to attend this. And as a seller, as importer, we have to import and sell. That is the reality.
Where do you see, sir? Where do you see it in Canada? I think that will be a very different market to work off.
It is. In Canada, it's mainly towards the health benefits. So even if the product doesn't taste as good, as long as it provides the benefits, then consumers will buy it, and even if it's not as delicious as something else that isn't as beneficial. And a lot of the times, consumers will pay the extra price for that product over the ones that taste as good or even better at a cheaper price. So it's kind of odd, but they're moving towards, they're open to a more dull taste, but more benefits from it.
So my question is, you come from a different country, you were born
Yes.
in Canada, raised in Canada.
Yeah.
Your taste, in terms of what is your culinary experience? Is it more Canadian? Is it more home-based?
No, it's more
what
home-based.
is your taste now?
It's a lot more home-based. Canadian is very dull. So I like spices. And it's a lot different. It's a lot different.
So you still need India to give you the spices? No,
I
just
need
kidding.
it. I love it. But yes, that's true. And as I said, the demographics plays a big role, especially in Canada with the growing ethnic diversity. There will always be a place for delicious spices, homemade spices, and Asian cuisines, Indian cuisines will always be available.
What about you, sir? What do you see this moving towards?
Well, as Mr. Karim said, innovation, he said, I think, he not literally means innovation is a mafia business. Innovation is a crucial thing, and it is looking mafia business because someone should be able to afford to make that researches to create necessary technology for this. But in time, this technology anyway gonna become affordable for even for small producers or manufacturers also. This is one side, and another side, innovation is, I think, has focused on how more, how to be able to produce more in a small facilities or dark factories, as we say,
Farming and all this,
and
yes.
artificial intelligence is started to be involved in this, and it's coming to agriculture or food industry also. That's why innovation gonna be the key part of
I think
food industry.
one part, if I may add to this part, is IBM invested in a company called Watson. It's a computer system that's basically now looking at food in a very different format. What is bringing out in terms of food for everybody, that is people like you and me who are born in one place, living in different parts of the world, is people today want customization of their food, which means that they want to see the food being made fresh. They want to have the option of choosing the flavors they want. They want to be able to do that. And in that, they're using AI. So just think of a person walking into McDonald's today. They go about taking a screenshot of the man, says, Hispanic, Caucasian, let's give him a Taco Bell product rather than selling him a McDonald's burger. So that is going to be happening. And I think in terms of innovation, they are working with, now, unfortunately for us, they're working with machines that will do the job that I'm doing right now. So I think innovation will be good, but the part is we'll still go back to basics. You want to eat what you want to eat, and you will follow the global food trends because you get bored of eating the regular stuff on a daily basis. So I think we can take that as a thought process. But yes, health is now considered to be the #1 part of what you're talking of. I do not believe in organic because the problem, like you said, in terms of mafia, is they have gone about making it too gray, too blurred in the lines. In terms of, it takes 30,000 for the fertilizers to actually decompose on a land. So how can you say in 1 year's time you can grow vegetables on it and say that's organic?
Yeah.
Okay? You're giving me an egg that's coming from a chicken. You change the food to organic. You can't tell me the chicken is giving organic eggs. The DNA hasn't changed. So yes, it is a mafia in some ways.
Even I have experience about the organic. That's why I say. So organic, organic milk. In our childhood, we take the milk, one cow given, 3 liter, 4 liter. They take open place. That is organic, right? Now is the big, cow give 40 liter, 50 liter, and that's food from. We don't know actually where they come from. That come from Russia, that's come from East Europe, and come here and packed in organic sign and go US. They feed it and say this is organic. One gallon milk is $2 and that is $5. So what do you say?
So I think
definitely this is something.
I think what you're saying is very true. Our parents went about looking at the feed of the cow and told us that's a better milk, right? Because they knew the cow.
I believe.
Now we don't.
It's the rule of the game. Like this kind of manipulations or this kind of marketing tricks or this has been and this is gonna be more. This is the rule of game, and no one can change this.
I think
we have to just adapt our companies, our businesses to this game, and of course, preferably, we have to be honest in this game. But this is gonna be.
I think the fun part that you look at is they asked nursery students, where does milk come from? Few said room service, few said retail markets. Some people said cows. So I think we need to go back to basics as far as we're concerned. Okay, the part that we go into next part is we're talking of changing consumer lifestyles and its impact on food and beverage sector. So where do you see where we are moving towards? Do you think we are moving towards
beverage sector? No, the food sector.
The food sector. I mean, beverage sector, of course, is something that's integral to food.
No, this food, is changing. Every day is changing. If you see in visiting China, millions of KFC and McDonald's over there. Millions, trust me. So now they are changing. Before, the Mandarin people don't like other food. Now they are taking McDonald's, KFC. And Indian food, I think that is authentic. I believe so. Is whatever place you can take Indian food, people are goes to take Indian food, not take to other food. So that is truly, you can say.
I think what you're talking about is Britishers came to rule India, they went back, and the national dish is the curry, right? So the part you're talking of is umami. They used two flavors that is umami, that's natural for them. And I think chicken by itself has umami. If you go about saying KFC as a brand is doing well, it's a different thing. There are 5 global companies running the chicken market. We can see that. But when I say trends, you're talking of a lot of things that's happening right now. You mentioned a few of them, Mohammed, when we were talking about it. You were talking of Generation Next, you were talking of millennials, you were talking of trends that we're talking of. So what do you think is the trend? I think today I want instant gratification. If I think of eating something, I want to reach out to an Uber. So what do you think is going to be the future?
So I think you're on the right path in what you're saying. So things of convenience. So for example, immediate consumption, so ready to eat meals. Products that replace certain meals, for example, a protein bar. As well as, sorry, just give me one moment. Just give me a moment. Yes, for example, salads, single portion meals, these are things that consumers are shifting towards. And I believe as technology goes faster and people become more busier, the need for an on-the-go meal is going to grow even more.
I think so. I was reaching a report that in Asia, 30% of the houses don't have a kitchen. If you go to places like Singapore and Malaysia, the homes do not even make tea. They go downstairs and they have a food court and they actually consume the tea and breakfast and everything there. So 30% of the houses are being built without kitchens now, which is something that I can't understand. I mean, I grew up in the kitchen watching my parents and grandparents cook. So for me, that's a demographic I can't understand. But yes, it's moving in from that format.
It's happening.
It is happening. What do you think the millennials and Generation X are going to go about doing? I mean, they are on their tablets looking at food and working the part through. So where do you think they will take?
So already there, if you notice in Canada, people aren't spending much time in restaurants. So they're going straight to fast food and quick meals. And the companies that represent these fast food companies are adapting to it as well. For example, Tim Hortons, McDonald's, these companies, the environment inside is as if it's a restaurant. So these guys are adapting with the quick meals as well as giving them the comfortability that they are going out to eat, but it's a complete difference in prices as well. It's going to a restaurant and it is going to a quick meal, a fast food restaurant. Mm-hmm.
But I think each quarter century gonna have its, let's say, dominant trends as a dominant design. But anyway, as much as globalization is gonna happen, like nations or societies or cultures gonna be like taste each other's or experience each other's tastes, and most tastes gonna become familiar or for different, let's say, cultures. For example, when I first time tried Indian cuisine, it was butter masala, as I remember, chicken butter masala. I couldn't understand what does it taste, and I didn't like this. But now I became the fan of Indian cuisine, Chinese cuisine, at least once a month or twice a month, even in Azerbaijan, in Turkey, with my family. I'm trying. Like, it's a different experience and it's exotic experience for me. And I'm sure that for India, for example, Caucasian cuisine or Turkish cuisine gives the same feeling. This is like a part of, let's say, cultural experience which makes more colorful the life. But the dominant trends gonna be there, as for example, for last maybe 20, 25 years, fast foods are the dominant trend in food market. And it's gonna maybe shift to different directions, but it's gonna happen.
Okay, some data that I would like to share is companies like Blue Apron They're actually giving raw material for you to take it home. No, they're delivering it to you that you can cook the food you want as a balanced meal plan.
IKEA model in food.
In food, yes.
Changing.
But now
the
they
ready
are,
food, just
sorry.
take, now are changing, so take the ready food, go home and make it microwave and take it. So that is.
No, I think what I'm trying to say, sir, is that companies were actually are giving you the raw material to make your own food as an option. They're giving you that option. Now, those companies are known for AI or known for the data they have gone about getting on you as your food trends. So everything we are doing is being mapped in that format. So what is happening is the markets are getting more mature because they know what the people want to consume more, right? So the food trends today is also being data mined and data led in some ways, which is getting interesting for us because then you can actually go about looking at place and saying, what do I need to sell there, right? The other part we are talking about is in terms of, like you were saying that you like to eat chicken tikka masala. It wasn't made in India. This dish was made by the Brits, unfortunately for us, and it's been marketed by them. So unfortunately, what's happening now is we're seeing a trend where people are going back to basics. So,
Bobby, I have an actual observation. We are talking about food. We are talking about, for what? Food, we are talking about those people are buy. Those people have money, they can test all over the world. Today this, tomorrow this, right? But they have their own food. Actually, basic food are rice. Those some people, most of the world, you know this, they don't have only rice or only bread. They take it. They don't think about the change. They need the food for every day. They have
I think what you're saying, sir, what I was trying to say was that unfortunately for us, people now want to, if you say you want to experience India, India is a world of flavor by itself. Each part of India has its own cuisine. So there is a cuisine in Kannur. If you go to Kannur, if you go to Kathiawadi, that's a place in Gujarat or Rajasthan border where they only do food which is made in a different format. And even vegan cuisine has interpretations in different parts of India. So part of food is there, but when you go down to a basic that you're talking of, and in the earlier session they talked about 30% of the food grown in India is actually perishing, which now they're saying is 9%. And I would like to understand that part of it because I go to India and I go with seeing chilies drying on roads. You understand? It's not being dried in a proper manner. And the infrastructure needs to support that part of it. But if 30% of the food is actually not coming to the shelves, what are we doing about sustainability from that perspective? And going back to the part of you're talking of, everybody needs their basic food, which is something we need to go about focusing on. We have a responsibility towards that part. And I would say in every part of the world, it is required because food security you spoke of, it's required as such to go about looking at it. And I think where I think I'm going to take on the next part is where do you see role of technology in developing that part of sustainability? Whilst looking at new foods, whilst looking at eating grasshoppers maybe in the future and insects, because that's something easily grown. People are doing it. I mean, I went to Kenya and I said, what do I go about eating that's different? He said, I'll get you something in the evening. And he bought me a bowl of grasshoppers to eat and says, this is a delicacy. And I said, if you're saying I should eat it, I should. But point is, do you think that's the future? Would you go in for algae that's harvested from the sea? What do you think is going to be the future? Where do you see we need to focus on to get more food on the table by 2030, say?
Grasshoppers.
Grasshoppers.
Why? Because grasshoppers is also, for example, I'm gonna go or enter to the topic from grasshoppers example because it is the very big container of proteins.
Very high source of protein, yes.
Yeah, and the crucial point is the protein there, not grasshopper or frog or snake or lamb or beef. Like these perceptions can be changed, but the reality that humankind or mankind needs to be feeded is the reality is there, and grasshopper or something else. we need something to eat, to feed, to stay, to survive. And this planet, the population is growing. That's why these kind of perceptions after Generation Z gonna be changed, I think.
So do we see anybody growing grasshoppers or? Sorry, Ahmed.
I can definitely see that going in that direction, especially with different emerging technologies like biotechnology and nanotechnology. It can definitely change the way the grasshopper is raised to fit the needs that consumer wants. So it's definitely something that.
I mean, my question is, where is it written that I need to eat proteins that's coming from either poultry or bovine animals? Where is it written that I need to have milk coming only from cows?
There's not.
There is meat being grown in labs now. We're seeing that trend right now. It's happening rapidly. I had eggs the other day that were made of mung beans. So it was a vegetarian egg. And it worked. If you ask me, it worked. It worked brilliantly for the product we were working on.
It's what we're going to need as well.
Sorry, you're shaking your head, sir.
I'm shaking, that's why anything artificial is not good for health.
Anything processed is not good for
Anything processed, and I'm talking, that I call always artificial.
Okay.
So, is not good for health. Everything is natural, you have to take natural. And definitely sometimes we do business, for money, we have some mind in our own. So that is important. So that again I'm so sorry, again I talk to like this. This is kind of business, I mean, mafia. That they are making this, that, the people are eye-washing, then they sell. End of the day, after 10 years, if you're talking about so many product, is gone.
Sir, my question to you is on the other side of it. What will the poor eat as proteins in the future? If you're saying there is this part of the mafia that you're talking of, my question is, with globalization, the divide is still getting bigger, the poor and the rich, if you put it down in perspective. What do you think should be the food for the common man? Where do you think we should advance? Where do you think humanity should advance?
No. Whatever we have, that is enough. So that whatever we are a natural food, that we natural food. No need something artificial. So whatever we eat, whatever we grow, that you find everything.
But sir, it won't be enough for humanity. Part is that the global population, unfortunately for us.
Global. You know, US. No, what happened in US? They use school food for the kids. So that food you can feed up 2 countries of Africa. So that is important to.
So you're saying the wastage of food in the schools of US
yes.
can feed 2 countries of Africa?
Yeah.
Okay, that should not happen.
So whatever we have in the earth, if we just rescheduling.
So awareness.
No need to, somebody waste and somebody don't have food. So that we need the change. That we have to do it. So if you put a tablet that if you take it one day, no need food whole day. So that is not is a business.
I think we would have major chaos in the world if you do not have an option of eating food. I would be jobless as well, so that would make a chaos for me. No, but jokes apart.
You have to look after this.
Sorry.
I think what you're talking about was people not being able to afford it, which is true, and it doesn't necessarily go with what he was saying, but as technology advances, it makes it a lot more easier for people to receive food that's at a very cheaper rate. And I really agree with technology as it grows. It's inevitable that it's going to grow and get through to it.
Mohammed, I saw some initiatives in Canada. I've seen them in the retail markets here. There is something called perfectly imperfect foods. So vegetables that are grown, 30% of them actually go to a landmass. Can you imagine going there, putting a seed, planting it, working it for 110 days, and getting a harvest, of which 30% you're putting it back into, you're wasting the mother nature's resource, basically. So I think awareness is important, but selling it as an option to people also is important. Working the business in terms of awareness, like you went about saying, but I would say, I put it as a word of awareness. But the thing is, in terms of responsibility, globally, that we need to have about wastage, from a perspective, we need to go about talking of it. using blockchains and logistics more effectively might be something we can talk about to make sure the food reaches right. Working the primary industry to have the proper chains of cold chain working off could be something we can talk about. But these are just points I can raise from my head that I'm talking of. But my point is every country or each one of us has a responsibility. I think that's a part we need to go about taking back. We come to the last part of it, which is globalization of flavor. Where do you see fusion of food, whether it's Indian or Middle Eastern? Where do you see that going?
I think it depends a lot on the diversity and the ethnicity. So people are always open to trying something new. And people are always to trying something that's different, that has different flavors. So definitely just diversity is the key.
What's your take on it? Like you said, you like Indian, you like Chinese. Where is the Arabic and the Indian coming in now?
I think, for example, we can, like, let's just from here observe, for example, in Dubai, how many Indian restaurants are there? Yeah, maybe hundreds or thousands of them. But in Baku, max there are 5 Indian restaurants. Okay. And all of them are luxury restaurants, not, let's say, the fast food restaurant or like some, let's say, snack bar or something. They are luxury restaurants. Why? Because I buy that food when I need once a month, twice a month to change my taste or to experience this. Like, but I can't every day consume Indian food. But in Dubai, why there are thousands of Indian restaurants? Because there are millions of Indians living here.
65%.
Yeah,
yes.
65%. So I think I would say the genetic, let's say, taste is gonna be still there because it was created in thousands of years. You can't change it in few years. But as as people know more about the world and they need more experience from different cultures, of course it's gonna grow and expand around the world.
I think I always joke about this part. There was a Silk Route that happened before. So traders would come from here, they would come to India. Even the tea that you have in the Middle East actually has cardamom, and more cardamom than we are used to in our part of the world. Okay, so it's there in the coffee as well. And trade has been a universal part that you're talking about. But when you go about talking of food, and you talk of fusion, I go back to my children. Because unfortunately or fortunately for me, they're living here, they're growing here, and they have friends who are Arabic, right? So what we did was we actually put up a sandwich counter, and we told them, choose what you would like to eat, right? It's funny that the taste buds of the kids today is not something I'm going to say that was only with flavors of saffron or whatever else. The taste buds are evolving. And we are seeing a complete shift in pattern where they love what they like to eat, but maybe at their home. But when they're going outside, they want to experience a completely different area of flavors. So I think you are going to have fusion, and I'm sure that this part that we're talking of will mean that you're using the same ingredients that you were mentioning when we started off, but the ingredients might make the basis, but the flavors of what we want to eat, we will still go back to it.
Yeah.
So whether it's your bread, it could be a wrap, but it's going to be a khubs in this part of the world, and it's going to be a roti in my part of the world, or a paratha, or 700 versions of rotis I have in my country. But we only sell the 4 that we're talking of.
I have observation about the food. So food, such a thing. So same atta, if you smash in India and you would smash in New York, the taste is different because water is different. So yes, Indian food is growing. All over the world, people are taking Indian food. Definitely they want to taste the authentic Indian food, not like the modern khichuri Indian food. So usually, okay, I am going to the Indian restaurant. Definitely, I want to test Indian food. And I see so many foreigners over there, they're taking all the time when we are going the family-wise, the 50% are, I mean, foreigner, and 50% are we are Deshi because of like this. So because the people, other people are come to taste Indian food, the real Indian, they want to know the taste, subcontinent taste. And food-wise, if you're talking about the taste, definitely, even you are the chef, you know, the same ingredients, same thing, same water, same, but chef change the food taste.
So my mother makes the best food in the world.
My mother, I'm always fighting with my son, I mean, my daughter. They're expecting his mother is the best cook in the world. My mother is the best cook in the world.
So
that's the difference.
I think we have about 3 minutes left now. Are there any questions that you would like to ask this esteemed panel to work off? Sorry.
Before taking the question about this globalization and this kind of things, I took, when I was doing my MBA, there was an instructor from United States at another university. He said the key strategy in globalized world to do business is glocalization.
Gelocalization, yes.
Yes, gelocalization, because whatever you take to any market, you have to find how to adapt to the requirements, to the needs of that market.
Very true. Sorry, sir.
Hi. My question is to the panel, and I'll leave it to Chef Bobby to put across who would like to answer it. And as humans or humanity, we are organic. We are coming from natural behavior centuries ago. And the core of us was contented. We were content every day. You know, that was our core. But if you see last a century or two, you know, the kind of growth we have as a population of Earth, as humans, and the kind of aspirations we have, you know, if we take both these things together, are we really talking about, can we live without this mafia, so-called mafia or food processing industry or innovation industry? Can, as a humanity, we survive, we sustain, without having these processes being done and, you know, have food which is being preserved artificially or naturally? Can we really afford it? To be only natural, only organic? Can we?
I think it's a very, very good question to work off. The question I would ask is, I mean, I want to reach out to all of you to work the path through, but the question I'm going to ask is that, you know, everybody in their role of life has changed. Families have become smaller. The way we live has changed completely. We are no longer staying with Mother Nature. We are not working the seasons to work our food. We now can eat whatever we want to, whenever we want to, unfortunately for us. And every religion in its own way has gone about basically saying we need to have intermittent fasting, whether it's, you know, you need to go about sticking to some basics and some faith to work off. That's very important for humanity to survive. But whilst covering that part, what I always go back to is modernization has its pluses. And we have to allow the people to choose. That's the part I'm going to say. And I think we need to improve the processes for the future of humankind, because otherwise we will not scale new worlds. We are just going to be where we are. We are not going to move countries if we are going to work the path through. Anything you would like to add, sir?
Also, when like I hear the critics about that mafias who are, let's say, leading the food market, food industry in the world, I say, I'm a small company. I'm a small company which is producing honey in a, I'm a small company which is producing honey in a small country, and I even can't compare myself with that kind of, but why I'm protecting this trend? I say, do you want your grandchildren's or grand-grandchildren's fight with each other for a piece of bread or for a glass of water? Because it's obvious, all forecasted numbers says that, for example, in 2050, the population gonna be over 10 billion, and let's say, available lands to grow vegetables or the resources of the planet might be not sufficient to feed all these people in this, let's say, planet. So someone should be ready to at least decrease that risk of having water wars or food wars or protein wars or something across the globe. That's why the humanity should be ready for this.
Okay, what's your take, Mohammed? Anything from your side?
Bahadur covered a lot of it, but I do believe that as technology needs to advance and we have to adapt to it as well. And because population, I said, is growing to around 10 billion, we will need
Over 10 billion.
Yeah, over 10 billion. We'll need to figure out a way to feed everybody and at a sustainable rate. So with technology growing, it's going to create the products at a cheaper price for people who can't afford it and that don't have the food or the resources. So as the question was about can we live with an organic and naturally, the way it's moving towards, not necessarily, but it would always be better to go that way, but unfortunately, yes, I don't believe so.
What about you, sir?
I'm not against the technology, I'm not against the modernization. But my observation is the technology should be with the nature, to helping the more grow, helping, that should be nature. And naturally, that is always is my point. So we have some duty to our nation, we have some duty to our country. So that is my point. So we do modernization. So now we are doing, before we do, some two cow together and make, now we are doing tractor. That is, we like, now we are, so definitely we are modernize everything, but that should be humankind, for human, not for only for the business.
Of course.
Whatever we do, okay, 10 billion people we can feed. We don't feed in tablet. We have to feed rice, we have to feed fish, we have to feed vegetables.
I think what you're trying to say is very, very important. I think modern technologies.
That is important.
I think modern
we have
technology.
to find out some way how we modernize everything, how we grow more, but that's everything for the with protein and everything and for humankind.
I think what I think we are trying to communicate here is that there are technologies available in different countries. Israel might be a benchmark for volume per hectare of yield for something like tomatoes that they're growing. The idea should be that we should take that same process and try to copy that in countries like ours. Unfortunately, the time is up. Thank you so much for being an audience to cover that, and I hope we had or made some substance or some contribution to your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We would thank you. We would like you to be here as only right now. We would like to honor you, and we would also like Mr. Rakesh Banga to come on the stage and honor our panelist and the moderator. And of course, the session was quite informative, and we really learned about the trends and how we can modernize. So can we have the memento? Thank you. We'll start with the chef, Mr. Bobby Kapoor. Then Mr. Bahadur Rasidli, marketing head. Mr. Mohammed Abdi Sobena, director of Sob Trading. And lastly, we have Mr. Mohammed Akbar Hussain, Chairman, Discovery Products BD Limited. Thank you, everyone, for your thoughts about the trends. Thank you.